Hi everyone, welcome to today's how-to hangout on how to create a Social Good Summit Meetup. I am delighted to be joined by a number of Social Good connectors and community members from around the world. From left to right, we have Karim Benamdallah representing Social Good Tunisia, Michelle Arevalo, a Social Good connector from Quito, Ecuador, Mishe Modayan, who has organized a number of meetups in Armenia and is currently based in Los Angeles, and Ruben Cantu from Austin, Texas, another Social Good connector. And I am Noah Gaffney. I'm here to moderate today's conversation. So to start with Mishe. Mishe, you organized a series of meetups in Armenia. Can you talk a little bit about how you adapted it to the local context, and how do you take these big issues and make them locally relevant?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Well, first and foremost, that was like at the heart of everything we did. We wanted to make sure that whatever we were putting out there was relevant, that at the end of the day, whatever information was being sent out was going to enable a lot of the youth that we were working with to push forward on their own initiatives, or else what was the point, really? So luckily what we did is we were currently working on a counterpart project. So we were working with youth initiatives throughout the country that were working on various community development and civil society issues. So what we did is, I mean, it was simple as talking to them and just seeing what it was that they needed and listening. Like, the power of listening is key. And as we were able to speak to them and see what their projects were and what some of their issues were, we were able to find the thread that kind of linked all of them together. And it's funny how the human experience can be a similar experience for all of us, regardless of where we are. And we were able to build partnerships based off of those issues with people in other parts of the world that are trying to solve for some of those same things. And so not only did they become kind of the students, but they became the teachers as well, because they were able to share a lot of their own experiences as well. So I would say, in terms of how you make it relevant, is first and foremost, you listen. As an organizer, I think the most powerful thing is to know that you might not have the answers, and the best way to get them is to simply ask. Past times where we had to do events in multiple countries, we utilized surveys, which made it a lot easier. And also, most of all, I encourage you to keep a portion of your programming for experimentation. Have fun with it. Think outside the box. See what you can bring that might be unexpected, and sometimes those end up being the best part of the events.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Karim, I just want to ask you, you're planning a hybrid approach with an unconference, Google Hangouts, and a video message from people across the Middle East. How are you spreading the word about the different events and tying your local events to the Social Good Summit, which will take place in New York from September 27th through 28th?
Okay, so first of all, no, we are not just active in the Social Good Summit. We are active all along the year, and we have a network. Our network, has different backgrounds. We have people from Big Conference, we have people from Social Media Club, we have people from Social Good, plus Social Good, and we have the young people who are the whole network. And whenever we have an event, they spread the word, and it gets viral around the country. And it takes a couple of days that everybody joins in, everybody is aware about that. But mostly is thanks to social media, atop the network that we already have, we did build all along the year. For example, if I'm willing to have an event in 5 towns, I can just get in touch with my group, and they're gonna arrange to have people from different towns to coordinate with us. So thanks to social media and easy tools like Google Hangout and stuff like that, we are able today to make any nationwide event from scratch.
Wow. That's very exciting. And that brings me to a question for Michelle. Michelle, how can you leverage partnerships to play a role in planning or scaling a Social Good Summit meetup? It seems like, Karim, you're doing a lot of that already. Michelle, in your work, you had a lot of experience with this. Can you share with us some of your expertise?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, in terms of these types of events, I would say you have to understand that there are different types of partnerships, right? There are some partnerships that might be a little obvious, like like people, for example, that are eager to learn, in the people that are champions, that are great examples of social innovation and how social innovation can get us a little bit closer to a better world in 2030. But of course, you have to think a little bit outside the box sometimes. What we have found that is very useful is to get some influencers from different quote unquote verticals involved. So, for example, we know a fantastic food blogger, and you might be thinking, okay, what does high-end cuisine have to do with social innovation and sustainable development? We figured out everything. She has hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. She has a fantastic network of people that she can mobilize, and it turns out that she is very passionate about sustainability. So we got her involved to blog or to tweet about how maybe a number of chefs or a collective of chefs can move us closer to sustainable living, better quality food, better sourcing from local farmers, and yeah, bam, you have an amazing influencer on board that might not be your usual suspect. And I guess the third type of partnership that we really love is getting private sector leaders involved. And sometimes that might be a little bit tricky when they're not all that comfortable talking about development. If you bring a leader out of their comfort zone, they're no longer a leader. So you have to make it comfortable for them. Find a way in which private sector leaders can support you. One of the more recent ways in which we have been getting more people involved is in maybe doing these like speed mentorship nights. Speed mentoring is a fantastic way of getting perhaps your 50-year-old CEO to get to meet an amazing young social entrepreneur and get inspired. And who knows, maybe after mentoring, himself will get involved, and his whole company involved in becoming more active towards 2030 goals. So yeah, those are the three ways in which we have found good partnerships work.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I really thought the part about unusual suspects was very interesting, as well as working with different sectors. Ruben, you've had a ton of experience with this in the number of Social Good Summit meetups and other events that you've organized through Austin plus Social Good. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your plans for this year and how you're measuring impact?
Thank you, Noah. That's a great question. What we're working on this year is a continuation of the past 3 years. September 24, 2012 was our ad hoc impromptu event that we tied together with the New York Summit, and it was a great success. Now we're working on having our event a little bit more expanded, and it's going to be in October. So that way we can give a proper reverence and respect to the summit in New York, and we can all have a viewing party. So we will have a meetup, but it'll be more of like gathering together, talking about the issues, and just kind of watching the New York Summit. So we've allocated a space now here locally that's focused on co-working and inner city issues, where we'll be hosting the gathering, the viewing party. It's called Urban Collab. But on October 7th, we're continuing to build on this like larger conference that we've been working on in the fall. This is where we'll be presenting our latest iteration of the 5 social entrepreneurs that we've taken through our accelerator, where they'll pitch and they'll vie and compete for the crowdfund that we've raised. The theme for this year builds upon the themes from the past 2 years. In 2013, we had the theme of me to the power of we. And basically that talked about how it's not just about the community, it's not just about an individual catalyst who wants to change the world, but it's a combination of such. That continued on from last year's theme to be the beacon, that everyone has the power to be that leader if they start taking the onus and the responsibility to go ahead and be part of that change. This year, we continue to drive into discussion a little bit more, and what we have planned for this year is the theme of change starts within, meaning that a lot of people want to see this change happen externally. We want to address the biggest problems. We want to solve the toughest issues. but at the end of the day, we can't do any of that until we start looking internally and seeing how we can start making individual and independent changes that affect our local surroundings, community, and region. Therefore, all of us collectively working on this mindset and issue can create and transform our world. So we'll be focusing and talking about that in more detail and figuring out what the community wants to go ahead and build on from here on out. One of the ways that we've worked on measuring the impact, obviously have the basic stats of attendance, how far our Twitter reach went. We have people working on that and the statistics. But one of the things that we've taken a step further, and I have to thank Nishay for actually implementing and suggesting this, is surveying not only our speakers and our staff on their reaction to the event, but more importantly, our audience. And so building a relationship and a conversation with them and asking them for feedback. This is where we've gotten some of our most valuable feedback that we've been able to build on top of. And we've learned a lot of insights that we normally would not have. And so it's about having that continuous conversation with them that helps us build better programming.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I just want to remind our audience members that the Social Good Summit will take place from October 27th through 28th in New York alongside the UN General Assembly Week. It's really meant to unite global citizens around the world. And of course, we're talking about local meetups that will give people an opportunity to connect locally, to go beyond geographical barriers, to leverage connections, potential, and share your vision for what the world should look like in 2020. And so I just want to wrap up this panel by hearing from each of you on your advice for individuals who want to create their own summit. We had over 100 local meetups last year, and we're hoping to beat that this year through a number of grassroots initiatives. And so Kareem, Michelle, Nishay, and Ruben, if you could go in that order and just give one piece of advice that you would like to share.
Sure, I guess I'll go first. The one thing that comes to mind for me is, you know, no matter how small or local your meetup is, and although you might not have partnerships with some of the large organizations out there, like the UN Foundation or Bill and Melinda Gates, like, the power of social media is huge. When Ruben and I were planning a Social Good meetup, you'd be surprised how many speakers we were able to get by just tweeting at them, by writing to them, even though we didn't know them. So I encourage you, like, no matter how large or small your network might be, if there is someone who you think can truly add value or has a message that you want to hear and you want to spread, reach out to them. I think you will be surprised at how willing people are to be a part of this conversation.
That's great. So reaching out to people that you think may be interested in getting involved, even though you don't know them, is one way that you can really expand the network of your summit. Kareem, what advice do you have?
Okay, I got three very important advices. The first thing, before heading to the event, take your time to explain to people what is Social Good, what is a Social Good Summit, and what are the goals. Because most people, they have no idea about that, and they did hear about that once or twice. So what you do, a month, a couple of months before the event, we go again and try to explain this is Social Good, this is Social Good Summit, and this is this is how what is it about, this is what's going to happen that day. The second, very important hint, advice is go ahead and make as much as possible pre-events online or in real life before the event, so we have more material. We have so the event gets known much better. Don't wait until the D-Day. Like in our case, going to have a meetup plus Social Good Hangout September 17th, and going to have another Hangout a couple of days later, and we also willing to have something in September 26th. So the D-Day is going to be ready. You're going to have a lot of people who already heard about the event, heard about what is Social Good, what's our aim, and what are we going to do. And the third very important hint, make sure to involve everybody. I mean, volunteers, people, your friends. That's why we did, go ahead with the conference, model, which is really awesome to make everybody, be part of the dialogue, be part of the discussion, rather than having, a panel of people and having, answering questions.
Wonderful. So just to recap your advice, start with the basics, explain what Plus Social Good is, what the Social Good Summit is, and what the Sustainable Development Goals are. Leverage all assets from online and offline events, and then get everyone you know involved. I think those are 3 great pieces of advice. Ruben, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Noah. Real simple advice that's really helped us catalyze movements here in Austin. We let the community decide based on what the theme is, what small action they can commit to show that they've made progress. And so it's not about moving a mountain, but it's about making small changes so they can see a change in their community and in their world. So having them commit to something then and there that's actionable and that can be reviewed in the future, maybe 6 months, maybe to a year. And I think that's what keeps the momentum going. So let's have that conversation about what change can we actually make.
That's great, Ruben. So by getting people to commit to small actions, you're not just measuring impact, but you're also giving people a way to see that they themselves can make a difference. And finally, Michelle, what advice do you have to individuals thinking about organizing a meetup?
Well, I guess 2. One of them would be definitely listen to Nishe, Karim, and Ruben. They've all given fantastic advice, so I don't want to repeat too much more. And I guess the second one would be make it actionable. I think that it could be very easy for us to organize hangouts, to talk, but really, I mean, I think that that's what the Social Good community is about. It's about going beyond just speaking about the goals and thinking about how to make things happen. Always ask your speakers, ask your participants to make an ask, to make a commitment, to turn words into action, because really that's what gives meaning and impact to all the work that you will be putting into organizing a meetup.
Wonderful. So again, Michelle, thank you for your advice. Make it actionable, get the speakers and the audience involved to make sure that the conversation and the impact continues long beyond the Social Good Summit meetup. For our audience, one final plug. The Social Good Summit will take place in New York from October 27th through 28th, and we'll be hosting a number of meetups around the world to spread the message of the Sustainable Development Goals and the world we want to see in 2030 through a number of local meetups. If you're thinking about joining a meetup, if you're thinking of creating a meetup, please go to the Hangout link on this event page, and you will have a link to create a form and share with us your ideas for the meetup. On plussocialgood.org, we also have 5 easy ways to get started on hosting your own meetup. And of course, we are all available on the platform and through social media channels. So if you do have any questions related to what we discussed here, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for your time. I hope we inspired you, and I hope to see a number of more meetups taking place in the lead up and following this very special year for the Social Good Summit. Thank you so much.